While doing a reading comprehension, it is always better to have a look at the questions first, because having a look at the questions first gives you a fair idea about what the passage is all about, and also you can look for keywords in the questions. And while reading the passage, you can pay extra attention to the keywords in order to answer the questions. Let's see what the first question of the first passage talks about. The options here are related to globalization, world affairs, again globalized world, national boundaries. So this gives you an idea that this passage must be something about globalization and its related aspects. Similarly, the next question also talks about national boundaries and India facing difficulties in playing larger role globally. And again, there is this aspect of neighboring nations, then globalization, national boundaries. So again, something related to globalization and its related aspects. And the third question simply asks you the impact of globalization. So definitely now we know that this passage has to do something with globalization only. Again, there is a mention of national boundaries in the first option. Then again, there is a mention of neighboring countries in the second option. The fourth question talks about UN Security Council. You can find this term UN Security Council in all the three options. So while doing this question, you know that you need to pay attention to the words UN Security Council in the passage. The last question again talks about peaceful neighborhood and subnationalism and religious fundamentalism. So now you have a fair idea about the passage. Now let's just go back and read the passage. The first paragraph tells us that if India wants to maintain stability, peace, progress, it must act not just individually but also collectively to improve its situation. Then it talks about technological change in a globalized world with its stress on interconnectivity. Furthermore, it says that no country has the luxury any longer to live in isolation, so it is indicating towards globalization. Globalization has provided the opportunity and benefits. And then it says that it has also thrown up new challenges for nations to deal with. Then we can find the terms subnationalism and religious fundamentalism, which we just read in the last question. So while doing that question, we know that we have to come back here and look for the answer. The next paragraph then talks about something related to a country's neighborhood, which is also mentioned in the options given in a number of questions. Then the last paragraph tells us that there are two other important reasons why management of the neighborhood becomes vitally important. So it is talking about management of the neighborhood. Finally, it says that India emerged on the world scene as an independent country. Then there is a mention of UN Security Council, which we read in one of the questions. So whenever we'll solve the question, we'll need to come back here. Let us look at the first question now. The first question asks you which of the following points is the author discussing in the passage? Impact of globalization on foreign policy formulation. Yes, this statement is discussed in the second paragraph, where it says that keeping in mind both the opportunities and the challenges thrown up by a globalized world, relations between countries in general and management of the neighborhood in particular has become one of the most daunting tasks for practitioners of foreign policy. So yes, the author has spoken about this impact of globalization on foreign policy formulation. This is correct. India's desire to play a bigger role in world affairs. Yes, this is also there in the last paragraph. You can refer to the lines. But with new ground realities emerging at the end of the Cold War, India has shown interest in finding a place at the highest decision-making table in the world. For the past several years, its leaders, diplomats and officials have been actively engaged in mobilizing support around the globe to become a permanent member of the UN Security Council. So yes, this is true that India desires to play a bigger role in world affairs. The opportunities and challenges thrown up by a globalized world, we just read this in the second paragraph itself, that keeping in mind both the opportunities and the challenges thrown up by a globalized world. So statement 3 is also correct. A need for a new approach to manage national boundaries. Well, this has not been discussed in the passage, though the passage states that national boundaries no longer enjoy the sanctity they once had, but the author has not discussed any new approach to manage these boundaries as such. So this is not the right answer, therefore option C is our answer. Let's move on to the next question. Which of the following statements align with the author's views? India needs to physically barricade its national boundaries to protect itself from the turbulence in the neighborhood. Well, the passage here talks about that India would have to ensure political stability within the country, and it would help if there were an environment of peace and calm in the neighborhood. So the author does say that there is a requirement of peace and calm in the neighborhood, but he does not talk of physically barricading the country as such. Therefore, this is not a correct statement because no mention of physically barricading the national boundaries is there. India will face difficulties in playing a larger role globally in the absence of peace and calm in its neighborhood. Well, this is correct. And the same line that we just read renders this statement correct when it says that India would have to ensure political stability within the country, and it would help if there were an environment of peace and calm in the neighborhood. So the same statement renders 1 incorrect while 2 correct. Therefore, the answer is option B. According to the author, what has been the impact of globalization? Interconnectivity amongst nations has reduced the significance of national boundaries to a certain extent. Well, this is correct as per the first paragraph. Refer to the statements. National boundaries no longer enjoy the sanctity they once had. Development in one country has its impact and creates multiple ripples in countries in the farthest corners of the world. No country has the luxury any longer to live in isolation. Globalization has provided the opportunity and benefits to enrich and improve the lives of people, but it has also thrown up challenges for nations to deal with. So this renders statement 1 correct. The benefits of technological developments and advancements in a country are enjoyed by its neighboring countries too. Well, this is an incorrect statement as the author does not make any such conclusion. He rather states that technological advancements in a country throw up new challenges for other countries. Therefore, this is incorrect. So the answer will be option A. Let's move on to the next question that talks about UN Security Council, which is mentioned in the last paragraph of the passage. India declined the offer of a permanent seat on the UN Security Council as a part of its policy not to be aligned to any of its superpowers. Well, this statement can be inferred from these lines, where it says that in the early 1950s, when the United States offered India a permanent seat on the UN Security Council in the place of China, Indian Prime Minister Nehru had politely declined the offer. as he wanted to steer clear of the Cold War politics. This means he did not want the country to align with any of the superpowers. Therefore, this is a correct statement. Statement 3 says, as the leader of the developing world, India has a strong claim to a place on the UN Security Council. This is incorrect, as even though India sees itself the leader of the developing world, the author has not drawn any such conclusion. As for statement 2, this is also incorrect because the non-alignment policy has not been stated in the passage. And this option talks about non-alignment policy. This has not been discussed. Therefore, we are only left with statement 1. Therefore, option A is the correct answer. Let's look at the final question. A peaceful neighborhood is a must for India to sustain high economic growth. Well, it is nowhere mentioned in the passage that a peaceful neighborhood is a must. This statement we have already discussed in a couple of questions earlier, but it is nowhere mentioned in the passage that it is a must. The passage only states that it would help India in a certain way, but it is not a necessary requirement. Therefore, this is not a correct statement. Statement 2 talks about subnationalism and religious fundamentalism, which we marked in the first paragraph itself. It says that it know no borders. This is correct. If you look at the first paragraph where this thing is mentioned, you'll see that it says, be it the emergence of subnationalism, ethnic exclusivity or religious fundamentalism, interconnectivity has ensured that no country can remain immune to such developments in any part of the world. So according to this, our statement 2 is correct. Therefore, the answer will be option B. Let us have a look at the questions of passage number 2 to have a fair idea about what the passage should be about. The first question asks you about translations, giving you a good idea that this passage has something related to translation. The options also here talks about translate and difficulty in translating a thought. Then the second question is about multilingualism, multilingual people. Again, something related to language only. In the third question also you can see something related to the language and its translation, understanding of a new language, a particular language has been discussed. Then again in this question also translations have been discussed, and there is a key word which says parallels drawn between translations and ladders. So wherever you read about ladders and translations, you know that the answer for this question will be there. Then here in this question the key word is this particular person's, Rodney's quote. So wherever we'll read about Rodney's quote, we'll find our answer there only. So let us go back to the passage. The passage, as we have already discussed, is about translations. It says translations are notorious for their inaccuracies, for their inability to grasp the depths and nuances of the meanings of the original. Despite of that, it says that it is not justified to conclude that translations are impossible. Furthermore, the discussion goes on this in this paragraph. Let us see the first question. Consider the following statements about translation. There is scientific evidence to support the fact that translations are not impossible. This is obviously related to the first paragraph that we have just marked. The second statement says, while not impossible, it is difficult to translate a thought and maintain the exact original meaning. Let us refer to the first paragraph. The author here says that it is not justifiable to conclude that translations are impossible, a conclusion which is sometimes drawn, and a conclusion moreover which flies in the face of facts. If translations are indeed impossible, then the only way for an adult speaker of a native language to gain access to an alien language is to undergo a kind of self-imposed total amnesia of his own language. Well, keeping this in mind, I guess, here in option 1, in statement 1, it says there is a scientific evidence to support the fact that translations are not impossible. Well, the author does not talk about any scientific evidence as such. Therefore, statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is correct as per the first 2 lines of the passage. Translations are of course notorious in their inaccuracies for their inability to grasp the depth of and nuances of the meanings of the original. All this is true, but they do not of course justify the conclusion that translations are impossible. And this statement here says that while not impossible, it is difficult to translate a thought and maintain the exact original meaning. So this is just a paraphrase statement of the statement that we just read. Therefore, this is the correct answer. This renders option B correct. In this question here, it says multilingualism is a uniting force and it is a must for citizens of a country where many languages are used. Well, the use of the word must here renders this statement incorrect, because the author only says that for some multilingualism is a uniting force, but does not say that it is a mandate, it is a must for citizens of a country. Therefore, this is an incorrect statement. Statement 2 is also incorrect because if you look at the second paragraph, where we have this line which says they certainly do not move from one language to another with schizophrenic frenzy and duality. So according to this statement is also incorrect, because not having schizophrenic frenzy and duality cannot be equated with not being uncomplicated. It is possible that they find it complicated, but not enough for them to go into frenzy. Therefore, this is incorrect. So the answer will be option D. Which of the following statements is correct according to the passage? At the final stage of learning a new language, a person realizes that there are certain indigenous thoughts which cannot be translated into their own language. Well, this is discussed in the third paragraph, where it says that a deeper understanding may frequently lead one to the conclusion that one has reached a point where it is no longer possible to translate a particular indigenous concept or an idea into one's own language. This makes option A incorrect, because the passage talks about a deeper understanding and not the final stage of learning a new language. One may not have a deep understanding of the language even at the final stage. Therefore, this is incorrect. Option B is correct, because as per the passage, there are words, concepts that cannot be translated to other language. We can refer to the example related to the word punya. The last paragraph also states an example that renders the statement true, where it talks about ethnographers and says that for ethnographers has reached such a point of understanding that they then have to confess themselves unable to translate the indigenous concepts back into their own language. Therefore, this is a correct statement. Now let us see why C is not a correct statement. It is difficult for non-Sanskrit speakers to fully comprehend the nuances of Hindu religious practices. Well, this is incorrect, because the passage only talks about a Naga, and so nothing can be generalized about non-Sanskrit speakers as such. Therefore, this is incorrect. So the answer will be option B. Which of the following statements are correct about the parallels drawn between translations and ladders? So we'll just look at the part where the parallels between translations and ladders have been drawn, which is there in the last part of the last paragraph. It says we must begin with translations so that in the end we can dispense with it. Like with Jensen's a famous ladder, we must use translation to climb to the top so that when we have reached it, we can throw it down, for we have no use for it anymore. So as per this particular statement, both these statements are correct, because they say translations help us gain a higher understanding of a new language, like ladders help us climb as higher. True. Translations are no longer needed after learning a new language, like ladders are no longer needed once we have reached the top. Again, true. Therefore, option C is the correct answer. Consider the following statements about Rodney's quote. Rodney's quote has been mentioned in the last paragraph, so we'll just look at the that particular part of the passage. The first statement here says he's wondering how we can understand alien ideologies without translations. And the second statement says he is not confident about the fact that it is possible to understand alien thought without translation. Well, statement 1 here is correct. As per the statement, if we look at the last part, which says how is it that we can apprehend alien thought immediately in its own categories without influence by our own. That is, without getting influences by our own thoughts or concepts, we can understand alien ideologies. Therefore, this statement is correct. As for the second statement, well, this is incorrect, as the author has stated that there is no doubt that it is possible to understand alien thought without translation. Therefore, the answer will be option A. Therefore, the answer will be option B. Let us have a look at the questions of passage number 3. In the first question, there is a term given to us, contradiction in terms. So whenever we'll read the passage, we know that we need to pay extra attention to this particular phrase, contradiction in terms. Then the next question asks you about why are central banks opting for negative rates. So this tells us that this passage is about central banks opting for negative rates. Again, in the third question, there is a mention of central banks. Economists assuming negative rates would be impossible because of whatever reasons. Consider the following statements. Again, there is a mention of central banks in the US and Europe, and then again a mention of negative rates. So the whole point of going through the questions first is to get a fair idea about the passage. So we now know that this passage is about central banks opting for negative rates and then various economics holding a different view. Then this question says following statements align with author's view. Negative interest rates, again there is a mention of negative interest rates and central banks trying to boost inflation, etc. So let us go back to the passage now. The very first line here mentions that term that we just read in question number 1. It sounds like a contradiction in terms, and this question asks you, what does the author mean by contradiction in terms? Here if you see option A, by definition interest rates cannot go below 0. This is a correct statement, as the author held the incorrect belief that interest rates must be positive and hence negative rates sound contradictory. So that is what is mentioned in the first paragraph. Therefore, this is the correct answer. Option B is simply an assumption by economists as to why negative rates would not work. Negative interest rates are impossible because cash will always give 0% interest. This is just an assumption of the economics. This is not. This has nothing to do with the author's perception, his idea of saying that of mentioning contradiction in terms. Options C and D are not related to the author's view again, so therefore these cannot be the correct options. Therefore our answer is option A. Let us have a look at the next question. Why are central banks opting for negative rates? To make the currency unattractive to hold, to reduce the nominal rate of return on deposits. Well, statement 1 is correct here as per the first paragraph. If you refer to the line, central bank's intention is to spur banks to use idle cash balances, boosting lending as well as to weaken the local currency by making it unattractive to hold. Therefore, this is a correct statement. Statement 2 is not correct because the real intention of the central banks is to reduce real rates. Therefore, this is incorrect. So the answer will be option A. According to the passage, economists assumed negative rates would be impossible because, well, the answer to this can be found in the fourth paragraph, where it says that cash is the sticking point. It earns interest of 0%. As per this, option B is correct, which says the effectiveness of implementing this was assumed to be nil, 0%, as savers could hold on to cash. Therefore, this is a correct statement. Now, let us see why option C is incorrect. Well, this is because this is not a problem of negative rates as long as lending increases. So, this is therefore incorrect. As far as option A and option D are concerned, they are not stated in the passage. They're out of scope. Therefore, these again cannot be the answers. Consider the following statement. Central banks in the US and Europe are holding more cash than is needed as per rules. Well, this is a correct statement as per the fifth paragraph, where it says that the US Federal Reserve's enthusiastic bond buying helped swell excess reserves in America from $1.9 billion in August 2008 to $2.6 trillion in January 2015. In the Eurozone, they climbed from €1 billion in 2008 to €158 billion in 2013. Therefore, this is a correct statement. Statement 2 is incorrect as quantitative easing is not stated to be the primary reason as such. But this statement says that central banks in the US and Europe are holding more cash primarily because of quantitative easing. But this is not stated as a primary reason. Therefore, this cannot be the answer. With this, we can obviously eliminate these three options and automatically we are left with only option A, which has to be the correct answer then. Let us still look why statement 3 is incorrect. This is because there is no surety about the effectiveness of negative rates, as the statement claims. Negative rates will ensure that cash finds its way back to the economy. No, there is no surety about its effectiveness. Therefore, this has to be incorrect. Which of the following statements align with the author's views? Negative interest rates alone will not stimulate growth. Well, yes, this is there in the last line of the last paragraph itself, which says that this whole picture, however, is dependent on finding lots of willing borrowers, something that is hard to come by when optimism about the prospects of new ventures is in short supply. This renders statement 1 correct. As for statement 2, although the passage states that central bank's intention is to boost lending and make cash unattractive to hold, which in effect will raise growth and inflation, but the passage does not make any definite statement as to whether it is good for the economy or not. Therefore, this cannot be the correct answer, because it says that central banks are trying to boost inflation as high inflation is good for the economy. So there is no definite statement as to whether it is good for the economy or not. Thus, our answer will be option A. Let us have a look at the questions of the passage 4. The first question is about the central theme. For central theme, you need to know, you need to read the entire passage. The next question asks you about the main attraction for buyers of electric cars. So this gives you an idea that this passage must be something about electric cars. Again, in the third question, there is something related to electric cars only, the sale of electric cars. And then the question asks you about the advantages of driving an electric car. So definitely this is a passage on electric cars and its sales, and about its future, about the future of electric cars. So let us now have a look at the passage. Well, this passage is discussing that how oil prices is not a determinant for electric car sales. Look at this line, but for buyers of electric cars, the relative cost of refueling is in fact a minor consideration. The following paragraph then gives us reasons for the same. So let us have a look at the questions. Now, what is the central theme of the passage? Like I have already discussed, that this passage is all about how oil prices is not a determinant for electric cars, and the following passages, following paragraphs discuss the reasons for it. This is very well explained in option D. The author is explaining why the fall in oil prices won't impact the sales of electric cars. So this has to be our answer. All the other options are quite narrow in scope. A central theme has to be the main idea discussed in the passage. According to the passage, what are the main attractions for buyers of electric cars? Well, if you look at statement 1, this is incorrect, as it is not stated if subsidies play a role in determining the sales of the electric cars. So this cannot be the correct answer. The advantages of driving in urban areas, and here the low cost of maintaining electric car and the ability to recharge it at home. Well, these two statements, statement 2 and 4, they are things that add to the appeal of electric car, and they are not necessarily the main attractions. So we cannot go by these. So we are left with 3 only, projecting themselves as being committed to the protection of the environment. Yes, this is the main attraction for buyers. This is also stated in the third paragraph. Look at the lines. They serve as a badge for committed Greens to demonstrate to the world that they care about the environment no matter what the cost is. So the correct answer will be option C. Consider the following statements. The sale of electric cars has dropped due to the fall in oil prices. Presently, the price of oil is a major determinant of the sale of electric cars. Well, statement 2 is definitely incorrect. This we have already discussed also. This is very clearly stated in the first paragraph. Price of oil does not matter. This is not a determinant for electric cars. We underlined also this thing here. But for buyers of electric cars, the relative cost of refueling is in fact a minor consideration. The sale of electric cars has dropped due to the fall in oil prices. This is also incorrect because the passage says that it is widely assumed that tumbling oil prices will put a dent in the sales of electric cars, but does not say that the prices have actually dropped due to the fall in oil prices. Therefore, this is also incorrect. So the answer will be D. According to the passage, what are the advantages of driving an electric car? The urban areas world over have exempted electric cars from restrictions placed on petrol-powered cars. This is incorrect because the passage says that some urban areas have done that. You can find it here. It talks about some urban areas. So we cannot say this about all the urban areas here. So this is incorrect. The low cost of running makes it financially superior substitute to petrol powered cars. Well, this is also incorrect because the passage does not state that electric cars are financially superior alternative. It only says that these cars are expensive, which is very clearly given here, because they are expensive. Consider the following statements about the future of electric cars. The author believes that if electric cars fail to catch on low prices, then it will be difficult to get masses to buy them. This is correct as per the first few lines of the fourth paragraph. Look at them. Refer to this line here. In the long run, the cost of vehicles themselves will be far more influential than the oil price when it comes to getting people to buy them. So this renders statement 1 correct. Statement 2 says the author believes that the only problem is to resolve the issues with battery and then electric cars will be ready for mass production. Well, this is incorrect as there are other drawbacks also that need to be addressed as mentioned in the passage. Refer to these lines here. Electric motoring has many drawbacks. The challenges of overcoming a lack of infrastructure and establishing a second-hand market have yet to be resolved. So therefore, statement 2 is incorrect. So the answer will be option A. Let us have a look at the questions number 37 and 38. Which of the following statements are true about Mr. Blair? So this tells us that the passage discusses a figure called Mr. Blair, and there is a mention of a wizard, and then again the second question talks about Mr. Blair, John F. Kennedy and Churchill. So some figures the passage talks about. So let us see what this question says. He seldom displayed his human frailties just like the wizard. This is talking about Mr. Blair. The masses expected him to behave like a hero who cannot even suffer from normal human foibles. Well, statement 2 is definitely incorrect because the passage states that modern political operatives strive to present their bosses as heroes and not because people or masses expect it. You can find it here. It says modern political operatives strive to present their political leaders as heroes. There is no mention of masses expecting it. He seldom displayed his human frailties just like the wizard. Well, this is correct because the passage states that Mr. Blair could never appear to be ill. He was presented as a hero just like the figure of wizard. This is very clearly mentioned in the passage. Therefore, the correct answer will be option A. Certain facts about Mr. Blair, John F. Kennedy and Churchill are, all of them are political leaders. The media helped John F. Kennedy and Churchill hide their weaknesses from the masses. All of them were able to hide their weaknesses. Well, statement 1 is correct for sure according to the following line from the first paragraph, which says that modern political operatives strive to present their political leaders as heroes. So we are talking about political leaders here only. Statement 2, if we see, is again correct according to the last paragraph that talks about media. In the past, the curtain was kept in place by an unspoken pact between the politicians and the media. Therefore, this renders statement 2 correct. Statement 3, however, is incorrect because the passage states that Mr. Blair's sore throat was anesthetized so he could deliver his speech as if nothing was wrong. But we do not know if he was able to hide his problem or not. Also, the statement is incomplete here. Who were they able to hide their weaknesses from is also not clear. Therefore, this is incorrect. So, the answer will be option C. Let us have a look at the questions of passage number 6. The first question is asking you about certain facts about Luddites. And the second question says the supporters of technology believe that so and so and so. So this passage is basically about a term coined by Federico Pistono in his book Robots Will Steal Your Job, but that's okay. The term he coined was the Luddite fallacy. This term was used to imply that Luddites have got it all wrong, in the sense that the Luddites were people who feared technology. So the Luddite fallacy is a term that was used to describe that the fear of technology by Luddites was not correct. This is what the first paragraph tells us, and it says that this is because new technology creates more jobs than it destroys, so there is no need to worry about it. Then furthermore, the passage tells us that for a long time, including the era of computers and internet, this argument seemed difficult to counter, but not anymore. It says that it may have run its course, as Mr. Pistono acknowledges later in the book, and this could dramatically change the way the world functions. Here's some data. Technology research firm Gartner predicts software, robots, and smart machines will take over 1 out of 3 jobs in another 10 years. Futurist Thomas Frey predicted a few years back that 2 billion jobs, half the total, will disappear by 2030. So, following are certain facts about Luddites. Their insecurity from technology was baseless. Well, this is incorrect because their insecurity from technology was not baseless, as technology actually has begun to replace humans today. So this is a correct option. Sorry, this is an incorrect option because it says their insecurity from technology was baseless. No, it was not baseless. So therefore, this is incorrect. The supporters of technology thought the Luddites' belief to be a fallacy. Well, yes, this is correct. Because the supporters of technology, according to them, the Luddites believe that technology will replace people was a fallacy, definitely. The Luddites fear technology because they believe that technology is more talented than humans. Well, this is incorrect because the reasons why Luddites believe technology is capable of replacing them is not given in the passage. So this is incorrect. So the answer will be option B. The supporters of technology believed that technology would generate more jobs than it would take. Yes, this can be inferred from the first paragraph itself, where it says that this I have already underlined also. New technology creates more job than it destroys. So do not fret. So yes, this is correct. Fear from technological advancements is against growth. Technology is necessary to create more jobs. Well, both of these statements are not supported by the passage. The passage only says that technology creates more jobs than it destroys, and not that it is necessary to create more jobs as such. And if you look at statement 4, one should not feel bad about losing one's job because failure is the springboard to success. Well, this is definitely not supported by the passage, so we can eliminate it at the first glance. So the answer will be option A. The first question asks you about the central idea of the passage, which we have just discussed in the overview of the passage, which is that people react due to differences in religious beliefs, and that the passage also discusses the conflicts that arise due to same and how people try to persuade others to believe in what they believe in. So this idea is very well explained in option D, which says that how conflicts arise due to difference in religious beliefs and ideas. Therefore, this is definitely the central idea of the passage. If you look at option B, it says people vehemently turn against those that do not believe in one's religion. This cannot be the central idea of the passage. It is also incorrect because according to the passage, it seems harder to foster tolerance and dialogue when others whose truth differs from one's own are mistaken and possibly infidels and sinners. So this is explained in the very first paragraph here. So it is harder to foster tolerance, it says. It's not that people vehemently turn against those who do not believe in one's religion. Therefore, this cannot be the answer. Option A says one's religious beliefs are sacrosanct while those of others are phony. And option C says everyone should follow the same set of beliefs. Both of these options have not been stated in the passage. Therefore, they cannot be the answer. So the answer will be option D. Well, the passage here talks about the way in which people react due to differences in religious beliefs. Furthermore, it discusses the conflicts that arise due to the same and how people try to persuade others to believe in what they themselves believe in. Let us have a look at the questions now. The first question asks you about the central idea of the passage, which we have just discussed. That the passage is just about in which the way people react to the differences in their religious beliefs and the conflicts that arise from that. This is very well explained in option D, which says how conflicts arise due to difference in religious beliefs and ideas. So the central idea of the passage is this only. Option B, if you look at, people vehemently turn against those that do not believe in one's religion. Well, this is not the central idea of the passage. Also, this is not a correct statement because according to the passage, it seems harder to foster tolerance and dialogue when others whose truth differs from one's own are mistaken and are possibly infidels and sinners. This is explained in the first paragraph itself. So it's just that they find it harder. It's not that they vehemently turn against those. One's religious beliefs are sacrosanct while those of others are phony. This is not stated in the passage. Everyone should follow the same sets of beliefs. This is also not stated in the passage. Therefore, option D is the right answer. Which of the following is the author likely to agree with? The first statement here says people don't always know the difference between licit and illicit ways of turning others to believe in their truth. And the second statement says the line dividing licit and illicit ways of converting people's religion is hazy. Both of these two statements are talking about licit and illicit ways, which is discussed in the lines here. This is legitimate as long as they use persuasion and not arrogance, violence, or even weapons. The distinction between what is licit and what is illicit is not always clear. This is our problem. Well, from this we can infer statement 1 as it is more specific in relation to statement 2. Statement 2 is quite vague. It says the line dividing licit and illicit ways of converting people's religion is hazy. Also, it is the people who do not know the difference between licit and illicit ways, but there is no demarcation between the two that can be said to be hazy as such. Therefore, 2 is incorrect while 1 is correct. With this, we can eliminate option B and option D as well. Let's see if statement 3 and 4 are correct or not. The greater the spiritual plurality in an area, the more the chances of clashes there. This can be inferred from the lines given here. When religious plurality coexist in the same space, which is increasingly happening all over the world, when we are thrown into each other's arms, as the great enthusiast of spiritual pluralism, Panikkar said, then the sources of conflict multiply. So this renders statement 3 correct. All peaceful ways to convert people's faith are acceptable. Well, this is incorrect because the only way the author suggests is persuasion. Not all peaceful ways. He is only using the word persuasion, but we can't say that he's suggesting that all the peaceful methods are acceptable. Therefore, this cannot be the correct answer. So we are left, so therefore this is also incorrect, and we are left with only option C, which has to be the correct answer. People belonging to different religions are not friends, can coexist, use violence to persuade the other to convert his/her faith. Well, very clearly statement 1 and statement 3 are incorrect, because they are general statements which may not be true for all as such. Statement 2 can be inferred from the following statement in the second paragraph, where it says that it becomes harder to foster coexistence when one has such a compelling truth, but it is not impossible. So according to this, people having different religions, they can coexist, because the lines say that it is not impossible. So this renders option C correct. The passage here talks about how introduction and rapid spread and use of new sex determination technologies has led to a decline in the number of girls. The second paragraph then tells us about the emergence of new technologies that lead to sex selection by people. The last two paragraphs then talk about sex selection and sex ratios. Let us have a look at the questions. Parents sometimes prefer sons to daughters. Which is a societal compulsion that leads to daughter dislike? Well, this is given in the third paragraph. In the very first line, certain other patterns around sex selection reveal that we have to anchor the current phase of daughter dislike in new societal compulsions which continue to make it more attractive for parents to have sons rather than daughters. So as per this statement is correct. To keep the property in the family. Well, this is also a correct statement if you refer to the last lines over here, which says that both rural and urban propertied caste also tend to prefer sons as a strategy to keep property in the family. So as per this statement is also correct. Thus the answer will be option C. People's sexual preference of their children is likely to be as follows. The wealthier the family, it is less likely for it to prefer a girl child. Well, if you refer to the last paragraph, this statement will be correct. Research reveals that families with higher incomes are more likely to sex select. Therefore, statement 1 is correct. The more the women in the family, the more its desire for a male child. Well, this is not with relevance to the passage. This is not stated. Let us look at statement 3. The education of a man influences his preference for a son. Well, this is also incorrect, because in the passage, if you look here, it says women with more education are much more likely to sex select than those with no education. And it talks about only women and not about men. So this cannot be a correct statement, because it talks about education of a man. Therefore the answer will be option A. This is a passage about smart cities, and it also tells us about some of the characteristics of Indian cities. It says that for a city to be smart, its citizens should be able to establish institutions to choose among the alternatives and to pick a path towards a goal of their choice. If a city is able to proceed on such a path, it should be considered a smart city. The second paragraph then tells us cities in India have very limited freedom of action. They do not have agency and can decide precious little for themselves. So if we see here in the first paragraph, the passage says that to be judged as smart, a basic prerequisite is the ability to decide and act independently. What philosophers call agency. And in the second paragraph, it says cities in India have very limited freedom of action. They do not have agency and can decide precious little for themselves. So as per these two statements, we can say that probably Indian cities are not smart because they do not have the agency to decide for themselves. Furthermore, the passage then explains the other aspect of smartness, which it says is the ability to move towards a goal. But what are the goals of a city? It says that it is to provide sustainable economic progress, social emancipation, and political participation. It is hard to contend that our cities have done so in full measure or even substantially. This is because economic growth has rarely been sustainable, and although it can be argued that a modicum of social emancipation has been achieved, but there is still a long way to go. Finally, it says that it is in political participation, however, that cities seem to be falling behind. There are many politicians but little politics in terms of debates over choices, in part as noted earlier because cities do not choose. Let us have a look at the questions. Consider the following statements about smart cities. They have absolute freedom to act as they wish. Well, as per the passage, smart cities are independent, but we do not know whether they have absolute freedom or not. So this word here, absolute, makes this statement incorrect. Indian cities may not be smart. Yes, this we have already discussed, that because smartness requires the ability to decide, and Indian cities have very little freedom to decide, very little freedom of action. Therefore, we can say that Indian cities may not be smart. So this is a correct statement. So the answer will be option B. Second question says characteristics of an Indian city are the state does not govern its land. Well, if you look at the third line of the second paragraph, it says cities in India have very limited freedom of action. They do not have agency and can decide precious little for themselves. It further says that no city can shape the use of the land on which it is built. This does not mean that the state does not govern its land. Therefore, this cannot be a correct statement. Statement B says the state hasn't done much to enforce laws related to caste, gender, and sexual discrimination. Well, this is not stated in the passage that whether the state has done or not. So this is also incorrect. People here are not free to make political choices. This again is not a correct statement because if we refer to the lines here, the last line of the passage, it says that there are many politicians but little politics in terms of debates over choices, in part as noted earlier because cities do not choose. So here political choices is a very wide term to be used in this context. The passage refers to choices related to the land. So if we go by political choices in general, that would be a very broad term. So therefore this is also an incorrect option. Therefore, the answer will be option D, none of the above. Here we have a question on critical reasoning. It says, which of the following statements most weakens the argument of the given passage? When a question asks you about a statement that is most likely to weaken the argument, then you need to look for a statement that is not in line with the main passage given. Only then you will be able to weaken the argument. If we look at option D, this says the history of America deals with how Native Americans dominated the continent. Well, this is incorrect because it does not affect the argument directly as such. So, this is incorrect. Option C says the Native Americans were never acknowledged in their rightful identity, although they should have. Well, this is completely in line with the main argument, and therefore this cannot be a statement that will weaken the argument. Therefore, this is incorrect. The Native Americans have always been an important part of American narratives. Well, this does not affect the argument because the fact that Native Americans tried to rectify their portrayal in the American narrative does not get influenced by the fact that they played an important role in the American narratives. Therefore, this is also incorrect. In any way, we are left with option A only. So, this has to be the correct answer. Let's see how. Well, if we say option A says the Native Americans always ruled the continent and thereby controlled their narratives. Now, if this option is true, then it is unlikely that they should have been misrepresented in American narratives and that there would be a need to rectify the latter. So therefore, this is the correct answer. This again is a question on critical reasoning, which says which of the following, if true, strengthens the researcher's suspicions in the argument above. Well, this passage suggests that the researcher's suspicions regarding American government keeping a check on the entire American population is verified by the incidents of Edward Snowden leaking confidential documents to newspapers. So if you look at option A, it states that NSA is known to carry out mass surveillance even though it was formed to collect information only against targeted individuals. Thus, option A supports the passage's reasoning. Therefore, option A is the correct answer. Now let us see why the other three options are not correct. Option B says Edward Snowden has worked for a long time in NSA. This suggests that Snowden, being an old employee of NSA, had sufficient opportunity to collect classified information. However, this does not indicate that the masses were being monitored on the internet. So therefore, this is incorrect. Option C states that the American spies had their own ways of collecting evidence against suspects. This clearly means that individuals were targeted instead of the masses. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Option D says Edward Snowden was allowed to work for NSA despite allegations against him of being a British spy. Well, this questions the credibility of NSA's recruitment procedure, but it does not affect the researchers' suspicions regarding the government's use of the internet to track the masses. Therefore, this again cannot be the correct answer. Let us have a look at question number 76, which is a critical reasoning question. It says, which of the following statements, if true, would at least partially reverse the effects caused by the fall in the currency value? Well, the passage here states that a falling currency affects the Indian economy because the economy is more import oriented than export oriented. Now, if you look at option A, it says recent data suggests that industries have become more immune to the currency value. This suggests that industries are becoming more immune to the currency value, which would only tend to neutralize the situation but not reverse it. Therefore, option A cannot be the correct answer. India is once again going into the era of the license Raj. Well, this presents a situation which would cut off the economy from external influences, which is a consequence of strict licensing. Again, tending to neutralize the effect of the fall of currency, but not reverse it. Therefore, this also cannot be the answer. If you look at option D, India's currency has only fallen relative to the countries from where it imports its goods. This will in fact aggravate the effect of the currency value depreciation, because imports will become costlier, but exports will fetch the same value. Therefore, this also cannot be the correct answer. So we're left with option C. In the near future, India will dramatically increase its exports to imports ratio. This may or may not decrease the prices, but will partially reverse the effects of the currency depreciation, for an export-based economy will gain more from such a situation. Therefore, this is correct. Have a look at question number 77, which says, which of the following, if true, undermines the argument stated in the passage? Well, the argument in the passage is that even though legal education teaches the students to aim for a utopic law, the first-hand experience of the legal system breaks their delusion of the ivory tower to reveal that the law isn't really that just as you were taught. So if you look at option A, it says John Grisham's novels are loosely based on real cases. Well, as per this, his novels that portray law as just are not exact accounts of real instances. Well, if at all, it strengthens the arguments instead of undermining it. So this is definitely not an answer. The law school fails to instill patience in the law students, as much needed quality trait demanded by the slow proceedings of the legal system in India. According to a survey, an intern has a higher probability of winning cases than seasoned lawyers, owing to his fresh approach. Well, both of these options, B and C, they are not in line with the main argument. They deviate from the main argument of law being just or unjust. So these cannot be the answers. The legal system is being updated regularly in accordance with the latest concepts in legal education. This states that the system is being updated as per the new concepts of legal education, which will ensure that legal system and legal education are in sync. This renders this option correct. Therefore, our answer will be option D. Let us have a look at question number 78. It says, which of the following most weakens the idea stated in the passage? Well, the idea stated in the passage is that words have a lot of power and can cause irreparable damage to emotions, reputation, relationships, etc. So if you look at option A, it says words, no matter howsoever caustic they may be, become important if we refuse to be affected by them. Well, this definitely weakens this idea by shifting the focus of power from words to the recipient of those words, by suggesting that words cannot affect a person if he refuses to be affected by them. Hence, this is definitely a correct answer. Now let us see why the other three options are not correct. Option B does not affect the idea because the passage does not state that one should be afraid to speak. It merely states that one should use words cautiously because they have great potential for making or breaking relations. Thus, this cannot be the correct answer. Since Draupadi had suffered a lot at the hands of Duryodhan, he deserved the ridicule. This is merely justifying Draupadi's comment, but not questioning the power of the words. The pen can never be considered mightier than the sword. Well, this again does not weaken the idea, as it states that the power of written word is less than that of a weapon, thus not affecting the argument, which is solely about spoken words and not about written words. Well, here is a question related to logical consistency. We are given a statement that says Namit eats cake when he is tensed. Which of the following statements, if true, would show that the above statement is false? Well, if you look at option A that says Namit cannot afford to buy a cake, this does not negate the given statement, because Namit's inability to afford a cake may not be a potent reason to stop him from eating it when he is tensed. Therefore, this cannot be a correct answer, because there is a possibility that he might borrow or buy a slice of cake when he is tensed. Similarly, option B is also incorrect, because it is possible that even though he does not take pleasure in eating cake, he eats it every time he is tensed to relieve himself from the tension. So although he might not take any pleasure, he might still eat it. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Namit is a happy-go-lucky person. Well, this does not prove the statement false, because being a happy-go-lucky person does not mean that a person can never be tensed. So this is also incorrect. Hence, we are left with only option D, that says none of the above options are correct. Therefore, the answer will be option D. Once again, we have a question on logical consistency. You're given a statement that says politicians are corrupt. Which of the following statements, if true, would show that the above statement is false? Well, to prove the above statement false, we need the kind of an example which will tell us that politicians are not corrupt. So let us look for that particular example. If you look at option A, it says businessmen are not politicians, but they are corrupt. So here we are not talking about politicians, because it says that businessmen are not politicians, but they are corrupt. So therefore, this cannot be the correct answer. Lawyers know politics, but they are not corrupt. Lawyers know politics, but they are not referred here as politicians. Therefore, this cannot have any relation to the given statement. Therefore, this is also incorrect. Farmers are neither politicians nor corrupt. It clearly states that we are not talking about politicians again. Although it says that they are not corrupt, but we are not talking about politicians here, because it says that farmers are neither politicians. Therefore, this cannot be the correct answer to statesmen are politicians but are not corrupt. So it says that statements are politicians. That means we are talking about politicians but are not corrupt. So at the same time, it negates the above statement that says that politicians are corrupt. So therefore, this is our answer, because it is an example of the kind of politicians that are not corrupt.
Let us look at another question. In a bag, there are three types of fruits, namely apple, banana and mango, in the ratio 3, 8 and 20 respectively. The cost of an apple, a banana and a mango is rupees 4, rupees 2 and rupees 1 respectively. If the total cost of the fruits in the bag is rupees 1488, find the total number of fruits in the bag. Okay. Let us suppose in the bag the number of apple, banana and mango are 3x, 8x and 20x respectively, and the cost of an apple is rupees 4, then total cost of apple is 12x. Similarly, the total cost of banana is rupees 16x, because the cost of a banana is rupees 2. Similarly, the total cost of mango is rupees 20x, because cost of a mango is rupees 1. Total cost would be rupees 12x plus 16x plus 20x, that is equal to 48x, and in the question it is given equal to 1488. Since 48x equal to 1488, hence x equal to 1488 upon 48, sorry, that is equal to 31. And now find the total number of fruits in the bag. Total number of fruits in the bag is 3x plus 8x plus 20x, that is equal to 31x, and x is equal to 31. Hence the total number of fruits is equal to 31 into 31. The square of 31 is 961. Hence our answer is option B. Let us look at other question. The length of one of the diagonals of a rhombus is 10 cm and its area is 120 cm square. Find the perimeter in cm of the rhombus. Let us suppose it's a rhombus. Okay, A, B, it is C, and it is D. And it is the diagonal of the rhombus. One of the diagonal is 10 cm and its area is 120 cm square. As we know that the diagonals of the rhombus bisect each other perpendicularly, so this angle 90 degree, 90, 90 and 90. Let us suppose this is 10 cm, then it would be 5 cm and it would be 5 cm. And area of the rhombus is equal to half into first diagonal and second diagonal, that is 120 cm square. Hence, first diagonal into second diagonal equal to 240, and one of the diagonal is 10 cm, then second diagonal is obviously 24 cm. So, BD is 24 cm, so this part would be 12 cm and this would be 12 cm, and it is 90 degree and it is 12 and it is 5. So, CD equal to 12 square plus 5 square under root, that is equal to 13. Side of a rhombus is calculated as 13 cm, hence perimeter of the rhombus is obviously 4 into 13, that is equal to 52 cm. Hence our answer is option B. Let us look at another question. A police jeep travels 7 km towards north, then turns to his left and runs for 5 km, then turns to his left again and runs for 7 km, and then turns to his right and runs for 4 km. How far is the police jeep now from the starting point? Police starts running towards north, it is 7 km. After that, then turns to its left, it would be left, and runs for 5 km. Then turns to his left again and runs for 7 km. It is left direction and it is also 7 km. And then turns to its right and runs for 4 km. In this direction 4 km. Since it is 5 km and it is the starting point and it is the end point, so distance between these 2 points is 4 plus 5, that is 9 km. Hence our answer is option C. Let us look at another question. When a car is driven at a speed of 120 km per hour, it needs 20% more petrol than what it needs when it is driven at 80 km per hour for the same distance. Okay, to cover a distance of 8 km at a speed of 80 km per hour, the car needs 1 liter petrol. The distance in kilometer traveled by the car traveling at a speed of 120 km per hour using 36 liters of petrol is. In this question, it is given that, let us suppose it is speed, quantity of petrol taken, and it is distance. Now speed is, let us suppose it is 80, and in the question it is given that for 8 km of distance at the speed of 80 km per hour, the car takes 1 liter of petrol. So if it is traveled by 120 km per hour, then it needs 1.2 liter of petrol for the same distance, that is 8 km, because in the question it is given that it needs 20% more petrol than what it needs when it is driven at 80 km per hour. Okay, so if the distance of 8 km is traveled by 120 km per hour, the quantity of petrol taken would be 1.2 liter. And if we have 36 liter, that is 1.2 into 30 liter petrol, then the car will travel 30 into 8 km, that is 240 km distance with the speed of 120 km per hour. So our answer is option D. Let us look at another question. From a salt water mixture containing 20% salt, 50 liter of water is evaporated. If the resultant mixture contains 30% salt, find the original volume in liters of the mixture. In the question, water is evaporated, so the quantity of salt in both the mixture, that is after evaporation and before evaporation, should be same. Let us suppose the total mixture is x liter. Then in the starting, salt is x into 20%, that is x into 20 upon 100. And after the evaporation, the quantity of mixture becomes x minus 50, and in this mixture 30% is salt, then the quantity of salt would be x minus 50 into 30 upon 100 and both are equal. So 20x equal to 30x minus 30 into 50, that is 10x equal to 30 into 50, or x equal to 150 liter. Hence our answer is option B. Let us move to another question. Find the highest common factor of 2 by 3, 4 by 9 and 4 by 3. The SCF of fractions equal to SCF of numerator of all the fractions upon LCM of denominator of all the fractions. In this case, the numerators are 2, 4, 4 and the SCF of 2, 4, 4 is equal to obviously 2, and the denominators are 3, 9, 3 and LCM of 3, 9, 3 is 9. Hence our answer is 2 by 9, that is option B. Let us move to another question. The cost price of 45 mangoes is equal to the selling price of 50 mangoes. Find the percentage loss on selling the mangoes. In this type of questions, the cost price and selling price of some mangoes are given. In this, loss or profit percent is equal to difference between the number of mangoes sold and bought, that is in this case 50 minus 45, upon number of sold mangoes, that is 50. It is obviously 5 by 50, that is 1 by 10. In percentage equal to, it is equal to 10%. It should be kept in mind that in the denominator, number of sold items would be always appear. Let us move to another question. The metro fare from New Delhi to Gurgaon is rupees 30 and the bus fare is rupees 40. If the bus fare increased by 10% and the metro fare by 20%, find the ratio of the new bus fare to the new metro fare. Okay, it is bus fare and it is metro fare. The bus fare is rupees 40 and metro fare is rupees 30. Bus fare is increased by 10%, that is 40 into 1.1, or because 10% increment, and the metro fare is increased by 20%, that is 30 into 1.2 is new metro fare. Find the ratio of the new bus fare to the new metro fare. Ratio of 40 into 1.1 and 30 into 1.2, that is 44 is to 36 equal to 11 is to 9. Hence our answer is option A. Let us move to another question. Read the following information carefully and answer the questions based on it. The line graph given below shows the sales of two companies A and B during the period 2008 to 12. It represents company A and it one company B. In the question it is asked that in how many years during the given period the sales of A was at least 20% more than that of B. In the year 2008, the sales of A is 16 and that of B is 12. Similarly, for 9, sales of A is 22 and of B is 16. And in the 2010, sales of A is 12, B 20, and in the 11 it is 18, and in 12 it is 25 and it is 20. And in the question it is asked that during the given period sales of A was at least 25% more than that of B. In this case, sales of A with respect to B is 25% more, because 25% of B, that is 12, is equal to 12 into 1 by 4, that is 3, and it is obviously 16. 16 minus 12 is 4. Okay. Similarly, in this case, the value of sales of A is more than 25% more than that of B, and in this case, sales of A is less than B, so it is not qualified, and it is also not qualified because sales of A and sales of B is equal, and in this case, 25%. So 25 is more than 20. Hence, our answer is 3, that is given in answer option C. Let us move to another question. Two containers C1 and C2 are filled up to the brim with milk water solution. The concentration of milk in C1 and C2 is 75% and 50% respectively. The contents of both the containers are emptied into a third container C3. If the ratio of milk to water in C3 is 2:1, find the ratio of the volume of C2 to that of C1. This question should be solved with the help of alligation. Let us suppose container C1 and it is C2. In the container C1, the concentration of milk is 75%, and in the container C2, the concentration of milk is 50%. When these two mixture is mixed, then in the container C3, the concentration of milk is 2/3, that is 2/3 into 100 equal to 66.66%. It is 66.66%. 75 minus 66.66% equal to 8.33%, and 66.66% minus 50% equal to 16.66%. So we can say that the volume of C2 and C1 is equal to 8.33 is to 16.66%, that is equal to 1:2. Hence our answer is option A. Let us look at another question. When the length of a rectangle is increased by 5 cm and the breadth is decreased by 5 cm, the area of the rectangle decreases by 50 cm square. When the length is decreased by 5 cm and breadth is increased by 10 cm, the area is increased by 100 cm square. Find the perimeter of the rectangle. Let us suppose the length of the rectangle is x cm and the breadth is y cm. From the first condition, when length is increased by 5 cm and the breadth is decreased by 5 cm, then area will be equal to x plus 5 into y minus 5, and it is equal to xy minus 50, because the new area is 50 less than the original area. And from the second condition, when length is decreased by 5 cm and breadth is increased by 10 cm, then the area is increased by 100 cm square. It is equation 1 and it is equation 2. From equation 1, xy plus 5 into y minus x equal to minus 25 plus xy. Xy cancel out, x minus y equal to 5. And from the second equation, similarly, you will get 2x minus y equal to 10 cm. It is equation 3rd and is equation 4. When you solve equation 3rd and 4, you will get equal to 20 cm and x equal to 25 cm. Then the perimeter of the rectangle would be 2 into 25 plus 20, that is 90 cm. Hence our answer is option B. Let us look at another question. The number of rectangles in the following figure is. In this figure, let us suppose it is first rectangle and it is second rectangle and it is third rectangle. Now if we join the rectangle 1 and 2, we will get another rectangle. First, second, third. Next would be found by rectangle 1 and 2, and the next rectangle would be found by 2 and 3, and another rectangle will be found by rectangle 1, 2 and 3. So in total there are 6 rectangles in the figure. Hence our answer is option A. Let us move to another question. Find out amongst the 4 alternatives as to how the original figure would appear when the transparent sheet is folded at the dotted line. Okay, it is dotted line and figure is like this. When this part is kept on this part, this will be overlapped and these two lines would appear like this. Hence final figure would be like something this. That is option C. Let us discuss next question. Read the following information carefully and answer the questions based on it. 8 students Amit, Bhanu, Rakesh, Mohit, Yuma, Govind, Deepak and Lakshman are sitting in a circle facing the center. Each student is sitting diametrically opposite to one of the other students. Rakesh is sitting opposite to Amit, and who is sitting to the immediate left of Deepak. Yuma and Deepak are not sitting adjacent to each other. Mohit is sitting equidistant from Amit and Rakesh. Bhanu is sitting opposite to Govind. Lakshman is sitting second to the right of Bhanu. First of all, let us find the sitting arrangement for this caselet. These are the 8 positions on which these persons are sitting. Rakesh is sitting opposite to Amit. Let us suppose it is Amit, then it would be Rakesh. And Amit is sitting to the immediate left of Deepak, then obviously it would be Deepak. Okay. Yuma and Deepak are not sitting adjacent to each other, then Yuma cannot sit at this place. Okay. Mohit is sitting equidistant from Amit and Rakesh. Amit is here and Rakesh is here, then obviously Mohit can sit at this place or at this place. So Mohit may be at this place or at this place. Bhanu is sitting opposite to Govind. Bhanu and Govind are sitting opposite to each other, then obviously Bhanu and Govind can sit at these two places. So it may be Bhanu or Govind, and it may be Govind or Bhanu. Lakshman is sitting second to the right of Bhanu. If it is Bhanu, then Lakshman should be here. That is not possible. And if it is Bhanu, then Lakshman would be here. And it is possible obviously. So Bhanu will sit here and Govind will sit here. Now Yuma cannot sit here and only one place is left for Yuma. So Yuma will sit at this place and Mohit will sit at this place. Now next question, which of the following students are sitting opposite to each other? Amit and Mohit. Amit and Mohit, no. Deepak and Lakshman. It is Deepak and it is Lakshman. So Deepak and Lakshman are sitting opposite to each other. Hence our answer is option B. We don't need to check other two options because we get option B as our answer. Next question. For how many students can we exactly determine their positions? Here we can see that we can determine all the positions, all the 8 positions for all the students. So our answer is 8, that is given in answer option D. Next question. Who among the following is sitting next to Yuma? Neighbors of Yuma is Govind and Lakshman, and in answer options Lakshman is given, so our answer is option D. Let us look at another question. Read the following information carefully and answer the questions based on it. Table 1 gives the details of the number of international tourists who visited Jangura in the year 20XX from different countries. And table 2 gives the details of the number of Janguran tourists who visited overseas in the year 20XX. Okay, in the first question of this caselet, in 20XX by what percent was the number of international tourists who visited Jangura more or less than the number of Janguran tourists who visited overseas? Okay, if we add all the international tourists who visited Jangura in the given year, then we will get it is equal to 7 million, and the number of Janguran tourists who visited overseas in the given year, it gives 8.00 million. In the first question, it is asked that by what percent was the number of international tourists who visited Janguda more or less than the number of Jangudan tourists who visited overseas. As you have seen that the number of international tourists who visited Janguda in the given year is 7 million and the number of Jangudan tourists who visited overseas is 8 million. So 7, that is equal to 12.5%, because 7 is the number of international tourists who visited Janguda, okay, and 8 is the number of Jangudan tourists who visited overseas. Now the number of international tourists who visited Janguda is 12.5% less than the number of Jangudan tourists who visited overseas. So our answer is option B. In the next question, in 20XX, for which of the following countries was the absolute difference between the revenue generated by Jangudan tourists who visited the country and expenditure incurred by its tourists who visited Janguda the maximum? If we see it carefully, for the UK, it gives total of 1.2 into 7, that is equal to 8.4 million. And in this case, it gives 1.2 into 11.5, that is approximately 13.8 million. And the difference between 13.8 and 8.4 is equal to 5.4 million. When you will calculate for all the countries, the difference for UK is maximum. So our answer for questions 2 is UK, that is given in answer option C. Next question, in 20XX, if a pie chart of total revenue generated from international tourists who visited Janguda is drawn, then what is the central angle found by France? Okay. Number of international tourists into revenue generated per tourist. For Australia, it is 6 because 0.6 into 10. Here 4.5. Here 1 into 8.5, that is 8.5. It is calculated as 8.4. It is 5.12. It is 4.60 and it is equal to 21.375. We'll sum all these quantities, then we'll get 58.495 million, that is approximately 58.5 million. Now the share of France is 5.12 million and in total this quantity is 5.85 million. So for this question, total revenue generated from the international tourists who visited Janguda, that is 58.5 million approximately, and by France it is 5.12 million, that is equal to 31 degree. Here you should multiply by 360 degree. Okay, so our answer is option A. Which of the following can be inferred from the information given? Option A. The expenditure of Jangudan tourists who visited USA was the maximum among all the Jangudan tourists who visited overseas. Option B. The absolute difference between revenue generated from Jangudan tourists and expenditure by its citizen in Janguda, but it should be international tourists, not its citizen. And option C, the absolute difference between revenue generated from Jangudan tourists and expenditure by its citizen, it should also be international tourists. Because it doesn't make any sense that the Jangudan tourists and expenditure by its citizen in Janguda. So it would also be international tourists. Okay, if you look all the three options carefully, then you will see that the option C is only correct. So our answer is option C. Let us look at another question. Eenie, Meenie, Moini and Mo were comparing their heights and weights during a health checkup camp. Eenie was not the tallest. Let us suppose this column shows the height and this shows the weight. It represents weight, sorry, and it represents height. Okay, Ini was not the tallest, so it could not be Ini. Mo was the shortest, and the second heaviest. Okay, Ini was not the lightest, so Ini cannot be at this place. If Mini was the heaviest, it should be Mini. Why? If Mini was the heaviest and the second shortest, then Mini was. So Ini cannot be here, so obviously Ini would be here and it would be Moini. And in this column, Ini cannot be here, so Ini would be here and it would be Moini. So Moini is tallest and lightest. So our answer is option B, that is tallest and lightest. Let us move at another question. Read the following information carefully and answer the questions based on it. 8 persons A, B, C, D, F, G and H competed in a race against each other on a racing track with 8 lanes numbered 1 to 8. Incidentally, the runners secured the position corresponding to track numbers on which they ran. For example, the person running on the leftmost track, that is numbered 1, came first. The person running on track number 2 came second, and so on. It is also given that. Let us suppose these are 8 tracks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay. D did not win the race, so D cannot be at first position or he cannot run on first track. Okay. Only 3 persons finished the race between F and G. F finished the race before G. Okay. Only 1 person finished the race ahead of C, so C is on track 2 and he secured position 2. Okay. Who finished the race just ahead of F? If C is here, then F would be here obviously because C is just ahead of F. Only 1 person finished the race ahead of C. Who finished the race just ahead of F? Okay, C here and F here. H secured the last position, so H would be here. E finished the race just ahead of A and after D, and from here we can see that only 3 persons finished the race between F and G. So if F is here, then obviously G would be here. And now E finished the race just ahead of A and after D. So E finished the race just ahead of A. So E should be here and A here. And E finished the race after D and D cannot be here. So obviously D would be here. And remaining, that is B, would be here at first position. First question, who won the race? From here you can see that B won the race. So our answer is option C. Next question, what was the rank of E? From this we can see that E secured the 5th position. So for this question answer is 5, that is given in answer option D. Hence our answer is option D. Let us look at another question. If 1st of January 1900 was Wednesday, what was the day of the week on 1st of Jan 2001? As you can see that from 1st January 1900 to 1st Jan 2001, the total number of years is 101 years. Okay. In this 101 years, 25 years are leap years and 76 years are normal years. In leap year there are 2 odd days, so in 25 years there are total 25 into 2, that is 50 odd days, and in 76 year there are 76 odd days. So in total number of odd days is equal to 50 plus 76 upon 7, that is 0. So if 1st of Jan 1900 was Wednesday, then 1st of January 2001 will also be Wednesday, because the number of days during this time is 0. Hence our answer is option C, that is Wednesday. Let us look at another question. On a particular day, Ramesh, Dinesh, Suresh and Girdhar traveled in their cars at a speeds of 30, 40, 60 and 70 km per hour for 1, 1.5, 2 and 2.5 hours, not necessarily in the same order. Ramesh traveled the maximum distance and Dinesh traveled the second maximum distance, but neither of them traveled at the maximum speed or for the maximum duration. Suresh traveled a distance of 75 km. Find the distance traveled by Girdhar in kilometer. Okay. From here we can see that the given speeds are 30, 40, 60 and 70. The time given are 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 2 hour and 2.5 hour. Okay. Suresh traveled a distance of 75 km. So obviously Suresh will travel with a speed of 30 km per hour for 2.5 hour, because 75 km is traveled with this unique combination of a speed and time. Okay. Now Suresh and Dinesh, it is Ramesh, it is Dinesh. Ramesh travel the maximum distance and it is Suresh with 30 km per hour for 2 hours. Ramesh travel the maximum distance. Let us suppose Ramesh traveled for 1 hour, then he cannot travel maximum distance. So Ramesh cannot travel for 1 hour. If Dinesh travel for 1 hour, so he could not travel the second maximum distance. So Dinesh could not travel for 1 hour. Then obviously Girdhar will travel for 1 hour. Now Suresh, Ramesh and Dinesh will travel for either 1.5 hour or 2 hour. If Ramesh travel for 1.5 hour with the speed of 60, then he will travel 90 km. Ramesh speed of 60 and time 1.5 hour. And Dinesh will travel for 2 hour with the speed of 40. And Girdhar will travel with a speed of 70 km per hour for 1 hour. In this case, Ramesh travels 90 km, Dinesh 80 and Girdhar 70. And conditions are also satisfied because Ramesh travels the maximum distance, Dinesh travels the second maximum distance and Suresh travels the 75 km. So our answer is 70. Girdhar travels 70 km, that is given in answer option A. So our answer is option A. Let us look at another question. Read the following information carefully and answer the questions based on it. 5 people A, B, C, D and E are standing in a row, not necessarily in the same order, facing north. C is younger than E, who is older than exactly 3 persons. B is standing at one of the extreme ends and is of the right of E. All 5 persons are standing in the row in ascending order of their ages from left to right. C is younger than A. Exactly one person is standing between A and E. Let us suppose these are 5 persons standing, 3, 4 and 5. And this person is eldest and this is youngest, which is standing on the leftmost position. Okay. B is standing at one of the extreme ends. So end is to the right of E. So B cannot be at this end because B is right of E, and obviously then B is at this end, and C is younger than E, who is older than exactly 3%. It means E is here because E is older than exactly 3 persons. Okay. Exactly one person is standing between A and E. So obviously A is here. And now C is younger than E. And C is younger than A because it is given that C is younger than A. So C would be at this place and D would be here. Now questions. Who among them is the youngest? Who among them is the youngest? Obviously C is the youngest. So our answer is option C. Next question, who is standing at the middlemost position? From here you can see that D is standing at the middlemost position. So answer is D, that is given in answer option C. Hence our answer is option C. Let us look at another question. A man has some pencils of each of the four colors red, blue, green and black. The product of the number of pencils of the four colors is 12 and their sum is an odd number. The number of pencils of red and blue colors are the same and that of green and black are not only different from each other but also different from the number of blue or red pencils. Find the total number of green and black pencils. Okay. Let us suppose it is red colored pencil, blue, green and black. According to the conditions given in the question, the product of the numbers of pencils of four colors is 12 and their sum is an odd number. Let us suppose, think about only this. The number of pencils of the four colors is 12. Product of the number of pencils of the four colors is 12. 12 can be written as 2 into 2 into 3. Okay. So it would be 1, 2, 6, 1, 1, 6 is formed in this type, and 1, 3, 4, 1, in which the number of red and blue colors are same. Red and blue are same, and that of green and black are not only different from each other but also different from the green and black. Okay, it's okay. In the next situation, the number of green pencils are 3 and number of black pencils are 4, in which the number of green and black are different from each other and also different from red and blue. Okay, but in the first condition, the number of red pencils plus blue pencils plus green pencils and plus black pencils is not an odd number, so it is not possible. Only possibility is 1, 1, 3, 4. And in the question, the total number of green and black pencils are asked, that is equal to 3 plus 4, 7. Answer option C is our required answer. Let us look at another question. A team of 4 students is to be selected from a group of 6 students comprising 3 girls, that is Abha, Champa and Chameli, and 3 boys, namely Ajay, Vijay and Pintu. The number of boys in the team is the same as that of the number of girls. Abha cannot be in the team if Pintu is there. Abha cannot be in the team if Pintu is there. Champa cannot be in the team if Abha is there. And Ajay cannot be in the team if Champa is there. Okay. How many such teams can be formed? The combination of 2 girls out of 3 girls may be of Abha and Champa, Abha and Chameli, and next Champa and Chameli. And it is very clear that total members are 4, in which 2 girls and 2 boys are selected. Okay. In the question it is given that Abha cannot be in the team if Pintu is there. It means if Abha is selected, then Pintu cannot be selected. And it is also given that Abha cannot be in the team if Champa is there, because Champa cannot be in the team if Abha is there. So Abha and Champa could not be selected together. So this case is not possible. And if Abha is selected, then Pintu cannot be selected. So Ajay and Vijay would be selected out of 3 boys. So this is a possibility of a team. If Champa and Chameli is selected, in the question it is given that Ajay cannot be in the team if Champa is there. So if Champa is selected, Ajay cannot be in the team. So Vijay and Pintu would be selected out of 3 boys. So it is also a possibility, and it is only 2 possibilities of the team. So there are 2 teams that can be formed. So our answer is option B. Let us move to another question. 6 members, namely A, B, C, D and F of a family spreading across 3 generations, are sitting around a circular table facing the center for dinner. C, D and E are males, whereas A, B and F are females. In the family, there are two fathers, two mothers and a pair of siblings. The members of each of the couples are sitting opposite to each other. Okay. All the three males are sitting together. The same is true for the females. F is the daughter-in-law of E and is sitting second to his left. The daughter of F is sitting second to her left, who is sitting second to the left of the husband of F. Okay. Let us suppose 6 people are sitting in this fashion, facing towards the center. Okay. And it is given that F is the daughter-in-law of E. A, B and F are females and C, D and E are males. Since E is male, and F is the daughter-in-law of E. Okay. The daughter of F, so there is a daughter of F, and since there is only one pair of sibling, so this will form a pair of sibling. Okay. And here would be each wife. Okay. F is the daughter-in-law of E and is sitting second to his left. Let us suppose E is sitting here, then F will sit here, and then A, B and F are females, so A or B will sit here or here. Similarly, C and D are males, so C and D will sit here or here. Okay. C and D are males, so it would be C or D, and it would be D or C, and it would be A or B, and it would be B or A. And it is very important point that the members of each of the couples are sitting opposite to each other. So each husband will sit opposite to E, that is here husband of E will sit, and husband of F will sit opposite to F, so here husband of F will sit, husband of F, and it is husband of E. Okay. Now in the question it is asked that who is sitting second to the left of the husband of F. Husband of F is sitting here at this position, and second to the left position is this with respect to the husband of F. So either C or D will sit at the second to the left of the husband of F. So our answer is either C or D, that is given in answer option C. So our answer is option C. Let us look at another question. If A's father C is B's mother's only son, how is B related to A's father? Okay. A's father C, let us suppose it's A and C is A's father, so C would be here. And now C is B's mother's only son. C is B's mother's only son. So let us suppose it is mother of C and it would be B, because B's mother's only son. Okay. Now since mother of B has only one son, so B would be daughter of her mother. Hence C would be brother of B and B would be sister of C. How is B related to A's father? C is A's father and B is sister of C. Hence our answer is option C. Let us look at another question. 5 books on different subjects, physics, chemistry, maths, bio and history, are stacked upon one another. There are exactly 2 books between the books of maths and physics. Let us suppose it's maths or physics. There are exactly 2 books in between maths and physics. So physics or maths. Okay. And the same is true for the books of history and bio. It means there are 2 books between history and bio. Okay. If neither the maths book nor the physics book is at the bottom, okay, there are 4 books in this type, there must be a book below the physics book or maths book, because physics or maths book is not at the bottom. Okay, and chemistry book is above the biology book but below the maths book, which book is at the top. It is also given that there are 2 books between history and bio, so history or bio must be here or here. So chemistry book would be here, and it is also given that the chemistry book is above the biology book. So if it is chemistry book, then it would be biology book, not history, and here would be history book. Okay, chemistry book is below the maths book, so it would be maths book and it would be physics book. Which book is at the top? Obviously maths book, so our answer is option B. Let us look at another question. What should come in the place of question mark in the following sequence? Okay, sequence is 78, 52, 61, 37, 46, 24. The difference between 78 and 61 is of 17. The difference between 61 and 46 is of 15. The difference between these two is 15 and these two is 13. It is of difference 17, it is of 15, so it would be of difference 13. So question mark equal to 46 minus 13, that is equal to 33. Hence our answer is option D. Let us look at another question. Pointing to a lady in a photograph, Rahim said, "She is the mother of my wife's only brother's sister's mother-in-law. How is the lady related to Rahim's father?" Let us suppose it is Rahim. Rahim is a male. Okay. My wife's only brothers. Suppose it is Rahim's wife. My wife's only brother, and it is the only brother of Rahim's wife. Okay. Brother's sister's mother-in-law. Let us suppose Rahim's wife's brother have only one sister, then it would be the sister of Rahim's wife's brother, and the lady in the photograph is the mother of the mother-in-law of this lady. So let us suppose it is the mother-in-law of Rahim's wife's brother's sisters. Okay, mother-in-law, and the lady in the photograph is the mother of mother-in-law. So it is the lady which is shown in photograph. And here would be Rahim's father. Then how is the lady related to Rahim's father? In this case, lady related to Rahim's father is mother-in-law, and in the other case, when Rahim's wife's brother have more than one sister, it is Rahim's wife, that is only brothers of Rahim's wife, and it has, let us suppose, one more sister. And now the lady in the photograph is of this family, that is Rahim's other sister, and the Rahim's father is of this family. So we cannot determine any relationship between the Rahim's father and the lady shown in the photograph. So our answer is option D. Let us look at another question. In a certain language, EDUCATION is coded as FBXYFNPGW. In the same language, FLIPKART will be coded as. Okay, it is written as FBXYFNPG and W. Okay, E plus 1 is F, D minus 2 is B. Similarly, you will get that it is in this pattern: plus 3, minus 4, plus 5, minus 6, plus 7, minus 8 and plus 9. Okay, now we have to write Flipkart in the same language. I P K A R T plus 1 G minus 2 J plus 3 L minus 4 L plus 5 P minus 6 U plus 7 Y and minus 8 L. Hence our answer is G J L L P U Y L, that is given in answer option A. Hence our answer is option. Let us move at another question. Following are the three different positions of a die. The number opposite to 4 is. Okay. In the last two figure, we can see that 1, 3, 2 and 6 are on the faces which is near to 5. Okay. So 4 must be on the face which is exactly opposite to 5, because 1, 2, 3 and 6 are the faces which is near to 5. So our answer is 4. And in the question it is asked that the number opposite to 4, so 5 would be opposite to 4. Hence our answer is option B. Let us move to another question. Find out amongst the 4 alternatives as to how would the original figure appear when the transparent sheet is folded at the dotted line. Okay. Now if this sheet is dotted along this line, then it would be appear like this, and this rectangle would appear in this section. Okay. And now whole circle will be placed on this. Okay. Hence our answer is option A. Let us move to another question. Find the missing number. Okay. 0, 6, 24, 60, 120, 210, 336, question mark and 720. Now 0 is written as 1 cube minus 1. 6 may be written as 2 cube minus 2. Similarly 24 equal to 3 cube minus 3. It is 4 cube minus 4, 5 cube minus 5, 6 cube minus 6, 7 cube minus 7. So question mark would be written as 8 cube minus 8, that is 512 minus 8 equal to 504. Hence our answer is option B. Let us look at another question. 64 is related to 30 in the same way. Which option will be related to this one? Okay. 64 may be written as 30 into 2 plus 4. Now going through options, we get 58 equal to 28 into 2 plus 2. So it cannot be our answer. 68 equal to 32 into 2 plus 4. So it is our answer. Hence our answer is option B. If 4 plus 9 equal to 31 and 13 plus 8 equal to 12, what is the value of 14 plus 9? Okay. 4 plus 9, that is equal to 13, is written as 31 simply by interchanging the positions of unit digit and tens place. Okay. Now 13 plus 8 equal to 21. Similarly 21 is written as 12. So 14 plus 9, that is equal to 23, would be written as 32. Hence our answer is option C. Let us move at another question. Which of the options contains the figure in which the figure given below is embedded? Okay. It is a right angle triangle, and it is simply a triangle, and it is semicircle. If we look at carefully in answer option A, this is the right angle triangle. Okay. And it is semicircle, and it is simply a triangle. So these given figures are embedded in answer option A. Hence our answer is option A. Let's look at another question. If a mirror is placed on the line LM then which of the answer figures is the right image of the given figure? Okay, a mirror is placed on this line LM. So the given figure would appear something like this. Q would appear like this. It would be this, and here it would be like this. If we see at answer option C, it is a typing error. In this answer option, this should be here and this should be here. So our answer is option C.